This is from a song called Temperamental. It's got pretty simple chord kind of progression in it where it just goes E, D, and A, you know. Little G thing at the end. But I wanted to make it a little bit, I don't know, just more exciting guitar sounding. So I put little licks in each chord. Let me show you how some of that goes. First thing is just the open B, little pull off on the G string. Really very similar to an E chord. Little blues thing. A little slide. One of my favorite parts, where I just alternate different notes with that open A. And the last G sounds like this. Kind of a swing feel too. You can throw in other little bluesy things like your Here's a lick from my first instructional video, which I played but didn't explain. I did it in the intro solo, and a lot of people who have heard this one part seem to really dig it and want to know how to do it. So here's how. It sounds like this. It's sort of one of those harmonic minor-ish sounding. Just get that kind of mysterious sound, and there's a lot of string skipping in it. Basically, I just use those top three notes on the high E string, up and down, and then alternate between different notes out of that scale on other strings. So, for instance, if you start with the B string, I'd do that right there, and just go between them. I'm picking almost everything, but not quite everything. Let's see what I don't pick. The part that I'm not picking is the descending part on that high E string. Everything else is picked, but when I go, I do two pull-offs. And then let's try adding the notes on the G string next. I like this because it's the same frets as on the high E string. And then you can alternate with the B and the G strings. And if you want to get really crazy, you can go down to the D string which is actually an octave away, but ends up being a whole step higher in position from the one on the high E string. Pretty big stretch there in as string skips go. You know, you have a lot of strings to skip over. So you might want to slow that down first and practice it a little bit. And if you want to get even crazier, you can go down to the A string. Do those notes there. And you can also do the low E. A little quicker. Yes, it's true, there is an instrumental, heavy metal sound and tune in this video, and this lick is from it. The song's called Metal Dog, and you'll probably recognize this. Actually a real good exercise, and it's funny because when people ask me how I pick fast, a lot of times I just tell them it's like scratching a dog, hence the title. So, or scratching an itch, or scratching your guitar there. Actually, it takes a lot of coordination with your right hand because you have to do it on those accent notes. You go down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's kind of confusing at first, but if you practice it, you'll get it. So let me do that a little quicker with some more distortion. Taking up an octave, you can put other notes in there. It has a real tight rock sound to it. That one I use the E as the low note, and I use the C and a B for the upper notes. I did a little thing where I went down to the A. Well, here it is, an acoustic guitar, and I've never been really that great of a finger picker, and I want to show you a few things that I've been able to figure it out with some limited finger picking technique. Basically, I have a real hard time if I have to use more fingers than my thumb and this finger, and so it's pretty simple. Usually, if I use my thumb, it's like a downstroke, and if I use this finger, it's like an up. Occasionally in this song, I do some almost kind of sweeping techniques, but it's not for arpeggio. It's just sort of playing a chord, sort of a flamenco style. In fact, the name of this song, I wrote it a while back, and I decided to call it Flamingo because of my inability to play real flamenco. And I can't stand on one leg and do it, but here it goes. Well, here's my best attempt at some flamingo. this flamingo features some things that I kind of like this chord here. And I add one note with my pinky, that B there, and I make a little lick out of it by doing a pull-off. Sounds like this. And the same kind of technique for this chord. And I use the open E there also. And I have an F with my pinky. They sound good together. It has that sort of kind of sound to it. So here's a real slow version of the picking. Here's, this chord isn't in the song, but here's another chord that you can do that technique with that sounds pretty cool. If you do, let's see, like an A, almost bluesy kind of thing, with that seventh in there, it sounds like Creedence. And you can take your second finger and do that little move between the minor third and the major third, which will sound like this. So there's a lot of different things you can do with that technique. Here's another lick I use in flamenco. It sort of a hammer-on pull-off lick that I really like, that has that Spanish flamenco sound to it. It uses the high E string and has that pull-off with the major triad. But then I throw in an F note on the B string. Let me do it one more time. So it uses the open E right before you hit that F. And sometimes I'll even go down and do that little chord where you have an open E, the F, and the B. And I can even add the A. I love that little lick. Here's a bunch of arpeggio things that I did in that acoustic song. I like the way these come together because I do a little scale line like that one and then do an arpeggio. Most of these arpeggios have the same kind of structure where they've got two notes on a string and then they skip a string. In this case it skips the G and hits the D string to continue the arpeggio. Just sort of down with a little hammer-on pull-off lick in there. So that sounds like. Then I do the next one. Then I do a G major. Slide all the way up to the high part. A little bit tough on these guitars that don't have cutaways, but you can do it. Then a C major. Then this one, little chord in there, and a diminished one. Back to the first one, then a reverse one, and I use the open strings to get a G arpeggio. Let me do this all together. more time, a little quicker. Well, if you've been watching this video or you've seen any of my other videos, you know there's lots of fast, scary kind of playing, and but there's other kinds of playing too. There's just sort of laid-back acoustic stuff, and there's stuff where sometimes just having a good set of chords will take you a long way. And certainly a song called "To Be With You" was the case with the band I'm in. It went #1 in a zillion countries, and I won't go on about it, but it really was a good thing for us. And the whole reason we did it is we liked it. I had a copy of Eric's version of it, and I think about the only thing we ended up changing was the guitar solo, which is funny. It was the first solo I did for that record. Usually you wait till the end and then you do the solos, but for some reason this one I just came up with it fooling around and decided to play it right off the bat. So let me do that big famous solo for "To Be With You." Here it goes. When I came up with that, I just sort of took the vocal line or the melody of the song and made a harmonized guitar version of it. But it was funny, one of the earlier takes, the one we ended up using, I was very, very close to making a mistake on it. It has that little ascending pentatonic line, and I just learned it, and my finger picking's pretty basic anyway. So I was sort of a little behind the beat. I wasn't quite playing it fast enough. And for some reason, it just sounded great. It really fit. And I liked it more than when I played it right on. So we kept it that way. It had more character to it. So look for that when you're doing some recordings, or live too. Sometimes the thing that has the character is the better part. So let me take you through this a couple steps at a time. Just starts down there in the E position, and I take that little third shape and just move it up, major third, minor third, minor third. Then add that high E note in. Give a little double stop there. A little minor second, chopsticks. A lot of the things that makes it sound good are the little slides. And to wait a second instead of going right on it. And just repeat it. Another double stop, a little pull-off thing. It's funny too, when I did that in the studio, I hit it way too loud. But it had character. Same thing again. This time I do a B major and a C sharp minor 3-note chord. Then there's that tough lick. So it's another double stop, another lick, 2 harmonics, and a slide. Well, it's been nice having you along on the terrifying guitar trip. We'll be seeing you soon on the ROAD, also known as the Road, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.